The village chief led a man with a haggard appearance and silver hair to the door of Tien's small house. He looked at Tien. His eyes filled with tears. "You are Lytudiep." Tien was surprised, looking at the strange man. An indescribable feeling rose in her heart. He walked forward tremblingly, holding out an old photo. "Look, is that you in this photo?" Tien recognized the photo because she was also holding a similar photo. It was the photo she had carried with her since she was little. Tears welled up in her eyes. She stammered, "You? Who are you?" The man choked. "I am your father, Tien. I have been looking for you for so many years." Tien burst into tears. She threw herself into her father's arms. All the grievances and loneliness seemed to burst out. The father and daughter hugged each other, sobbing. After so many years apart, they finally found each other. The father recounted that years ago, their family had an accident. He was falsely accused and had to run away. Her mother was so sad that she fell seriously ill, unable to move around. Tien had been lost since then. He had been searching everywhere for his daughter, and in the end, God did not disappoint him. He found her after Tien heard. Tears fell again. She hugged her father tightly, feeling like she had just found a lost part of her life. Tien was so happy. She wanted to tell Jack that she had found her father, and she wanted him to stay with her in the camp house. She decided to call Jack to tell him the news. When she heard Tien calling to tell him the news, Jack was at a small coffee shop outside. It was drizzling. He held the phone to Tien's voice trembled with emotion as she told him about the unexpected meeting with her lost father. Jack was silent. His heart seemed to stop beating. He couldn't believe his ears. After so many years of hardship, Tien had finally found her family. A mixture of emotions surged in his heart: joy, emotion, and a bit of vague anxiety. Tien, are you telling the truth? Is he your father? Jack asked again, his voice hoarse. Yes, Jack. He's my father. He's been looking for me all these years. Tien choked, tears rolling down her cheeks. Jack was silent for a moment, trying to hold back his emotions. He understood that this was a big turning point in Tien's life. He wanted to share this joy with her, but he couldn't help but worry about the changes that might happen. I'm happy for you too, Tien. Really happy, Jack said, his voice warm and sincere. You can bring your father back to live with you. That house is also mine. We will take care of him together. Jack took a sip of coffee, the bitter taste spreading in his mouth. He looked out the window, the raindrops falling on the glass pane, creating a gloomy scene. He wondered, would the appearance of Tien's father change her feelings for him? Would she still need him? He remembered the first days he met Tien, the small, lonely, and self-conscious girl. He fell in love with her, loved her strength and resilience. He promised to protect and take care of her for the rest of his life. To Tien, don't worry about anything. I will always be by your side, Jack said, his voice determined. No matter what happens, I will still love you. Tien was silent. She didn't say anything, but Jack felt her emotions through every breath. He knew she was very happy, but also very confused. Jack sighed. He knew that he could not control the future. He could only love Tien with all his heart, and hope that their love would overcome all challenges. He would quickly finish his work and return to Tien and her beloved father. Mrs. Lloyd, a woman with a warm and kind heart, was watering the orchids in the garden when the phone rang. Jack called, his voice full of excitement, telling the shocking news Tien had found her biological father. Mrs. Lloyd was stunned. Her hand holding the faucet paused. She could not believe her ears. Tien, the little girl she loved like a daughter, had finally found family happiness after so many long years. Really, my child? Is he really too? Tien's biological father? Mrs. Lloyd asked again, her voice trembling with emotion. Yes, mother. The village chief brought him to meet Tien. The two of them recognized each other. Jack recounted, his voice filled with joy. Mrs. Lloyd smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. She remembered the first days Tien came to live with them, the little girl lonely and full of complexes. She loved Tien like her own daughter, always trying to make up for her emotional shortcomings. God bless her, Mrs. Lloyd muttered quickly, wiping away the tears on her cheeks. She has suffered so much. Finally, the day of happiness has come. Mrs. Lloyd felt relieved and extremely happy. She knew that Tien would no longer be lonely. She had relatives by her side. She also felt grateful that Jack loved and cared for Tien, giving her a warm family. Tell Tien I'm so happy for her, Mrs. Lloyd said to Jack. Tell her I'll be visiting them this weekend. Mrs. Lloyd hung up the phone, her heart filled with joy. She walked into the house, took out an orchid-embroidered handkerchief, a gift she had prepared for Tien a long time ago. She wanted to give it to her as a blessing for her new happiness. Mrs. Lloyd told herself that she would always love and support Tien, no matter what happened. She would always consider her as her own daughter and would always be by her side, sharing her joys and sorrows. When it began to get dark, Mrs. Lloyd stood up to leave. Tien and her father saw her off to the gate. They thanked her for coming to visit and for loving Tien. On the way home, Mrs. Lloyd felt warm and happy. She knew that Tien had found family happiness, and she also knew that Jack and Tuti would have a bright future together. Thank you for following our story. Wish you all the best. On the weekend, Mrs. Lloyd was in a cheerful mood, like a young girl in love. When she arrived in front of Tien's small house, she stopped the car, adjusted her hair in elegant clothes, then got out of the car. Tien and her father were sitting in front of the porch. They saw Mrs. Lloyd, immediately stood up to welcome her. Tien's father's face was a bit confused. He was not used to the appearance of a noblewoman like Mrs. Lloyd. Mrs. Lloyd approached, smiled warmly. "Hello,